guys, it's Fee. So I am here with an IVF update, and I'm a little early, and for good reason. All right, so last update, I said I had started Lupron on February 17th, and I was supposed to stop birth control this upcoming Saturday. Tomorrow was supposed to be my last day, February 22nd. And then I was supposed to wait for AF, or the red plague, to show up, and then I would have gone for my baseline scan and blood testing, and the stimming injections would have started from there. But that's not how it worked out. Once again, my body has never done anything normal, so, you know, I start now. But that's okay. That's okay. This ended up working out all right. What happened was, I'd say, oh, and before I start, I'm going to put a TMI warning down here, because there's partial TMI in here, but it's an IVF video, so that kind of comes with the territory, right? All right, so I'm going to back up a little bit, and I don't remember if I mentioned this or not, but about, I'd say, a week and a half before I started the Lupron injections, I had started spotting with a little bit of breakthrough through the birth control pills. And I knew that wasn't a big deal, especially, you know, this being the first time I've been on birth control in quite literally a decade. And I told the nurses, they weren't worried about it, the doctor wasn't worried about it, not a big deal, they said it was normal. But then, this Monday, this week, the spotting, and I had started the Lupron injections by this point. This Monday, I had turned from spotting to something else. It wasn't full flow, but it wasn't spotting either. It was something in between. For me, I guess I would consider it maybe cycle day 3 kind of flow. So it was definitely more than your average breakthrough, and I knew that wasn't normal. So I called and I let them know, and of course they were a little concerned because that's not normal, and that's not what they were expecting to happen. So they said, you know what, start taking 2 birth control pills a day. Hopefully that will slow it down. Maybe the birth control just isn't strong enough to hold off your normal cycle, your normal red plague. So I started doing that, and by Wednesday, I knew it wasn't helping. It wasn't slowing it down. It wasn't getting any worse, but it wasn't slowing it down either. It was staying at right about the same pace. So I called back, and they said, oh, all right, well, that's not going to work. Tell you what, stop taking the birth control completely. Continue the Lupron. And come in on Friday morning, we're going to do a blood test, we're going to do an ultrasound, and we're going to see where you're at. And I said, all right, well, what does this mean? What can potentially happen here? And they said, well, one of 3 things can happen. Either A, we're going to look at your hormone levels and look at your ovaries and your lining and your uterus and not like what we see and have to cancel the whole thing and start over again at the next cycle day 1. Or, and I think I'm remembering that correctly, or you'll be fine, but you won't be entirely suppressed, and the doctor will want you to take Lupron for a few more days before we move on to the next stage. Or the third option was going to be everything's great, and you're fully suppressed, and everything else looks fine, and we'll start the stimming injections right away, which technically would put you ahead, I think they said, by, you know, a partial week, a few days, up to a week, depending on when my cycle would have shown up in the first place. Normally when you stop birth control, it takes 3 to 5 days, sometimes 7. I didn't expect it to take that long just because I know how I used to react on birth control. So I went this morning, and everything looked good. Everything looked good. My ovaries were finally back down to normal size. There was no cysts. There was no cysts in the middle of collapsing and going away. There was nothing. They were perfect. They looked great. She looked at my lining, and I'm trying to remember this number. I think she said it was 6.7, which I guess at this point, since I've been shedding, technically for like the last 2.5 weeks, she said that it was kind of on the thick side, and I probably would shed a little bit more, especially since once I start the next set of injections and my estrogen starts going up, I'll start building a new lining. So bottom line is my lining looked fine. My ovaries looked fine. So I did the blood test, and this was at 7:30 in the morning. And, excuse me, and of course, just like everybody else's experience, I had to wait till like 4 o'clock to get the call as to what was going on here. And they said I was fully suppressed and everything was good to go. And I am to start the stimulation injections tonight on the, what is today? The 20th, 21st. Today's the 21st. So tonight will be day 1 of stimming with Follistim and Menopure, and both of those are 150 IUs, and my Lupron has been reduced down to 5. So that's great. Roller coaster ride number 1, I was afraid that the whole thing was going to get canceled because my body wasn't doing what they were expecting it to do. But it turned out okay. And the nurse that did my ultrasound is a different nurse than I talked to for my IVF coordinator. And I always get the same nurse for my ultrasounds. And I've had many because of the cysts, even though I'm just going into the IVF section where you've got to do the ultrasounds every other day. So I've seen this nurse numerous times, and she told me that she felt that because I was on birth control for a little bit longer than they normally would have an IVF patient on, normally it's like 2 weeks, I was on it for 4. The first 3 were because we were trying to get rid of the numerous cysts I had, which did work. Then the 4th week was really when the beginning of that 4th week was the ultrasound to determine that the cysts were gone, and then we had to order the meds, and then the meds had to get here, and by the time I had them it was Friday, so hence the 4th week. She felt that the birth control just wasn't strong enough to hold off any potential bleeding. That this 4th week would have been when I would have gotten the red plague. And the reason why it didn't seem full flow to me is because that's what the birth control pill can do. So I took that as my answer. I mean, this entire journey, Lord knows what can happen, and I'm sure I'm not going to understand all of it, but I have the type of brain where I like to understand what's going on, even if it's just a guess, so that answer was good enough for me. So that's it. That's it. Oh, one other thing. All of the blood tests came back that we had to do to start all of this off. Normally they test you for all kinds of, Normally they test you for all kinds of contagious diseases. That's the word that was escaping me, contagious. And you can also request other testing that's extra. And we had tested CF testing, which is cystic fibrosis, because it runs in my husband's family. It doesn't run in mine, but we tested on both sides just in case he did come up positive. Wanted to make sure it wasn't hiding in my bloodline somewhere, because that's one of the genetic diseases where if both parents are carriers, you have a 50% chance of having a child with CF and a 25% chance of them being a carrier. We are both negative for CF, so that's awesome. CF is not an issue. So, all good news. All good news on a Friday, and I am good with good news on a Friday. So I am going to go and put my little kit of meds and needles together to make my life a little easier over the next number of days. Especially since I looked at my calendar and we have plans almost every weekend this upcoming month. So it kind of sounds like I'm going to be carrying meds around with me just in case. So I'm going to put that together and be ready and raring to go. So that's it. So long as nothing else crazy happens here, I will hopefully update next when all these little eggies and follies have properly done what they're supposed to do and grown, and I will update you at that point. Hopefully that won't be too long. I think they said 8 to 14 days, something like that, depending on how fast you respond to the meds. I'm really hoping that I respond to these meds just like I've responded to every other med in my life, which has always been pretty fast. So we'll see. Hoping and praying. And good luck and baby dust prayers, faith, hope, and love to all of you guys out there that are also going through this, whether it's IVF or IUIs or starting Clomid or starting Femera. Hopefully it works out for all of us soon. And for other people that are starting new journeys, you know who you are. Good luck to you too. Talk to you later. Bye.